we are playing NeoBrand or Allosaurus Evolution, and this is our opening hand. So we need to dig for Eldritch Evolution or a Neoform here, but I'm reasonably happy with this hand. We've got 2 lands, and we've got Serum Visions, so we can dig that a little bit deeper, so I'm happy enough to keep this hand. It's not perfect for sure, but has tools for digging. So, Botanical Sanctum, Serum Visions, we see Sleight of Hand and Neoform, so that's pretty good if we can get this Neoform going. We've actually got 2 ways to Allosaurus Rider, so that's pretty much the perfect setup for us. And also our opponent can't take the Neoform from our hand because it's sat on top of our library, so barring anything too crazy, we actually are in a pretty good spot here. Opponent plays Raven's Crime, so they appear to be on 8 rack or some variant thereof, which is a little bit annoying, but ultimately fine. I think we pitch Manamorphose here. We don't really want to pitch the Simian Spirit Guide because we need those to cast Lightning Storm if we're going off next turn, although we might not necessarily need to go off next turn, given that we have the Allosaurus Rider, so we don't really need to use his Summoner's Pact. So draw a Neoform, and we're in a pretty good spot here. So we can exile the Summoner's Pact and the Wild Cantor. I'm going to Neoform into Griselbrand, get an 8/8 Griselbrand. Just going to pass the turn here. I don't see any reason to draw the cards now. Obviously, we'll see if our opponent has a way of dealing with Griselbrand. If they don't, then we're more than happy just to attack and kill them with Griselbrand, because the risk of fizzling just isn't there if we just bash our opponent's face in with a 8/8 flyer, lifelinker. Also means we potentially draw more cards. Unfortunately, our opponent does have Smallpox ready to go, so we are going to have to go off in response. The combo, if you're comboing with Lightning Storm, is completely instant speed, so there is every possibility that we can combo off here. So we're going to draw 7, I'm going to draw 7 more. Fortunately, we found this Nourishing Shoal, which will pair very nicely with the Worm here to gain 15 life. Which goes a long way in helping us dig further. We've also got the other Nourishing Shoal and the Summoner's Pact here, so I'm just going to Summoner's Pact now, because we're definitely wanting to combo off now to get the other copy of the Worm. And then we can shoal that away, gain 15, so we're on 29, so we can probably draw a whole deck here. Depends if we need to necessarily, probably not. Not sure if we found Lightning Storm though, so hopefully that's not in the very bottom. Although actually our life total worked out really well here. We have and the number of cards in our deck, so we've got exactly 14 cards in our deck, so we can actually draw our whole deck here and we won't be punished, so we actually are in the best position possible. It's not possible for us to actually miss out on cards here. So yeah, we still haven't found the Lightning Storm, unfortunately, despite all the digging, but as I say, we're not in a position where that's a problem, fortunately. Is one of the ways the decks can fizzle is that you don't find your one-off Lightning Storm in the amount of cards you can draw. So if I would have like 6 cards here and Lightning Storm was one of the bottom 6 cards in the deck, then obviously that would be a problem. Fortunately, we do draw Lightning Storm before we get down to the bottom a few cards, but actually, again, it's not actually particularly relevant here. So I'm going to draw the last 7 cards here anyway. Basically, I'm protecting myself against Lightning Storm, so I don't think I've really covered this in my previous videos, but one of the things that maybe seems like not a lot of people know about Lightning Storm, the ability to discard a land to Lightning Storm can be used by any player, so your opponent is actually able to pitch lands to Lightning Storm and redirect it at you. So it's good to have some extra lands in hand if possible, to deal with that if your opponent does redirect it at you. So always be careful to count. Don't just pitch all your lands to Lightning Storm. Count out the number you need, and then go from there. So I'm gonna have to deal 21 damage here. So I always forget. It's slightly awkward. So Lightning Storm does 3 damage on its own, and then 2 extra damage for every land you cast. You pitch to it. So I think we have to pitch 9 lands here to get 18 counters, and then the 3 damage, so that deals 21. So that finished off our opponent. As I say, I've yet to actually have anyone pitch a land to Lightning Storm and redirect it at me. I think we would have been fine here because we actually have 5 lands. So even if our opponent's hand was entirely lands, we would have been okay. But it is a risk, something to watch out for if you are playing this deck or Lightning Storm as a kill condition. But yeah, in this situation we were fine, and that was a nice and speedy turn 2 kill for us, which worked out pretty well, and pretty nice as well, given that 8 rack, as I discussed in my previous video, is not really a great matchup for us. Okay, so on to sideboarding. In terms of sideboard cards we want to bring in, Leyline of Sanctity is the main one we're looking at here. For obvious reasons, a lot of the discard spells are targeted. So if we can we can hit a Leyline in our opening hand, then that will help stop our opponent disrupting us, which will be very helpful. So that's the main card we want to look at bringing in. We could probably want to look at bringing in some artifact destruction, potentially the Reclamation Sage or the Nature's Claim, because there's a reasonable chance they've got some sort of artifact hate in their sideboard, be it Needle or Grafdigger's Cage or something along those lines. So I think we probably want to bring those in. We could bring in Chalice, but it becomes a bit of a tricky spot fitting these cards in without compromising the combo too much. I think I left the Chalices in the board on this occasion. Certainly an argument for them that you can Chalice on 1 is going to be pretty good against 8 rack decks, but on this occasion I think when you're bringing in the Leylines as well, I think it's a bit too much of a struggle to play both, and I think I prefer Leyline in this spot. So yeah, I think we just bring in the Leylines, maybe some of the artifact destruction, cutting maybe 1 Chancellor. I don't mind cutting a Chancellor or 2 on occasion. You don't want to cut too many because they're good fodder for your Nourishing Shoals. And then probably the Cantor and the Noxious Revival. I cut this card a lot. I don't really use it a whole bunch. I know I kind of get what it's for. I assume it's mostly for buying Nourishing Shoals back, but that hasn't become overly relevant in a lot of the matchups so far. There's Nourishing Shoal. Oh, there it is. I'm not showing the full deck. Apologies. So these cards should be here. So there's Nourishing Shoal and the Worm. Yeah, so yeah, bringing in Leylines, and I think we're going to skip on Chalices, maybe some Artifact Hate, on the assumption that that is what they will be bringing in on their end. Okay, so here we are with game 2. So this is our opening hand. We brought in Leyline of Sanctity, so there is that as a consideration, because obviously, ideally, we would like that in our hand. But I looked at this hand and I was like, well, this is pretty good. Eldritch Evolution into Allosaurus Rider is the combo. So if we can eke a situation where we keep a good number of cards in our hand, then I'm happy with this. Is a risk. Certainly one of the considerations is that Allosaurus Rider needs to be cast by exiling green cards, and there's only one green card in this hand, and it's Eldritch Evolution, which is the card that we need to use to actually evolve the Allosaurus Rider. So maybe this is not a good keep, but I ran with it, took a risk on the basis that we've got our combo and Serum Visions to dig us deeper. Bun goes first here. Inquisition takes the Visions, unfortunately. We draw into Summoner's Pact, which is decent. I mean, it's a green card, so that's helping us towards being able to cast this Rider, and it's also an additional copy of Allosaurus Rider if necessary. If our opponent has a way of taking that out of our hand. But Ravens crimes us, so I'm going to get rid of the Simian Spirit Guide here, which is kind of a risk. I mean, potentially we could have comboed next turn with Simian Spirit Guide, but we're going to have to discard 2 cards here, and I think I prefer keeping a land here over the Spirit Guide, which might be wrong, but fortunately I'm very lucky, and we draw Neo form, which is kind of the perfect card for this situation. I think probably we would have been pretty dead by next turn, which might have been a good reason to not keep this hand, but fortunately we are very lucky, and we draw Neoform, so we can not only cast Allosaurus Rider but also evolve it this turn and get Grizzlebrand. So that makes an 8/8. Just pass the turn because, as I say, if we can just beat down, we are in a good spot, and if we can deal 8 damage and gain 8 life, then that makes our life a whole lot easier. Turns out our opponent does have removal. They have Liliana's Triumph. They should actually have used that on their own turn, given that I think just in general they should have used it on their own turn, because allowing me to untap gives me access to additional mana, which makes my life a lot easier. I only need to hit 2 Simian Spirit Guides now instead of the 3 that I would have had to hit if our opponent removed or attempted to remove Grizzlebrand on my turn. And here are the 2 Simian Spirit Guides, as it turns out. But yeah, it would have been a much harder push for the combo. I'm not saying we couldn't have done it, but it would have made our life a lot more difficult if we'd had to combo with both our lands tapped. So here we're not in an ideal position. We're going to have to Nourishing Shoal. I mean, we've drawn 2 Nourishing Shoals, which is nice, but we only had the Chancellor. So we're going to be able to gain 7 life with the Chancellor, and we're going to have to dig deeper and hope that we find either Summoner's Pact or the Worm. And we find both, which is nice. So, going to exile the Worm, keep on digging, find Lightning Storm, so that's our combo kill ready, but we might as well keep going to see if we can draw as many lands as possible, basically. So, we still haven't drawn the second Worm, so I'm going to tutor that up with Summoner's Pact. Shoal again, gain 15 life. So we can draw all but the last 6 cards of our deck. So as I said before, if we hadn't drawn Lightning Storm and it was in the bottom 6 cards, that would have been a pretty bad position, which I suppose is a good reason to run Noxious Revival, because that would have saved us in this situation. But the number of cards in your deck is always going to be a little bit unpredictable, based on whenever you actually start to combo off. So we've got everything we need here, and as we've seen before, we're going to Lightning Storm, pitch a bunch of lands, and win. So yeah, I wanted to make this video because this is the dream, basically. We won on turn 2, and then we won on turn 3, potentially could have won turn 2 in the second game as well, if pushed. But our opponent didn't use a removal spell until our following turn and let us untap, so we might as well have taken that advantage, which we did. And yeah, that wraps up this matchup, and that sort of shows you the raw power of the deck when it's running well and you draw well. You can just kill opponents very rapidly.